I am here in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Behind me, that tall building is the second highest building on earth, Merdeka 118, and you might recognize it if you watch Skywalkers, the Netflix documentary. That was the building that they climbed to the top of. I expected Kuala Lumpur to be a lot more of this and a lot less of this, but I've got to be honest, I've been impressed by the city. It's modern, it's mostly clean, even though it's a bit of a bad example where I'm walking now. The place is not what I expected, especially when you think of Southeast Asia. Quite often you think of places like Bangkok or Siem Reap in Cambodia or Vietnam. You think of these places, and Kuala Lumpur at least has been completely different. Let me show you around a little bit. One of the first things you'll notice, or one of the first things I noticed, is how many skyscrapers there are in this city. And naively, I didn't know much about that, but that there is Merdeka 118, and that is the second tallest building in the world after Burj Khalifa. And previously, for around about 5 years, the more famous Petronas Towers were, in the early 2000s, the tallest building or buildings in the world. And another thing that surprised me is this street right here in Bukit Bintang, which is, it feels like you're in Australia, apart from the fact that you get absolutely pestered to try and get in every bar. They're friendly, don't get me wrong, but at night you walk down here, and I'll show you a clip of that, and you get absolutely hounded. But you've just got bars, Irish pubs, restaurants, all basically built for Westerners. And the only reason I can think of why that is, and why it's mostly on one street, and there are bars and things scattered randomly around the city, but the reason a lot of it is congested on this one street, I believe, is because we are in a country that has 65% Muslims, and most places don't serve alcohol. Kind of Irish style bar or foreign bars. They've got Latin American bars, one on the left here. And it's a very diverse city, very, very diverse. And there's people from every walk of life. When you're in the malls, when you're walking down the street, people from India, Bangladesh, from China, from Malaysia, from Europe, and everywhere in between. And I don't know whether I'd call this next part surprising, but the people here have generally been very, very friendly from start to finish, and they also speak super good English for the most part. Generally, you're going to find it super easy to get by with English. This isn't hardly surprising. There's a big, busy, bustling market in Southeast Asia. But two things about it are surprising. One is the size of the place. It is massive. There's streets that go to the left, to the right. There's stores to the left, to the right. And also the prices are actually quite a bit higher than what I've been used to in Bangkok, Thailand, Vietnam, etc. So that's something to just note. If you're trying to score some bargains, maybe you will. Depends where you come from, depends what you class as a bargain. But compared to the other places that I've mentioned in this video in Southeast Asia, I personally found the market to be more expensive, but it's still a good experience, place to go, check out, see a different area that is in the Chinatown area as well of Kuala Lumpur. Now, another thing that surprised me and that we need to talk about is the food. Malaysian food is made up of Chinese, Indian and Malay food. And honestly, I wasn't expecting it to be so good. Maybe that was naive. Maybe you already know this. But imagine them three cuisines combining. You're only going to have nice food. And this little place on the corner of the area of Bukit Bintang is called, or these little things are called Chinese beef rotis. That's the sign above the store. Basically, they're these little kind of crispy pastries, got mincemeat and fried onion in the middle. Unreal, 10 out of 10. If you go there, do not miss these. Either go to this place or find another one. This always had a queue outside every single time I walk past, all 3 times. So it's usually a good sign that stuff is good. I wouldn't queue up for food or anything usually, but this I would queue up again for. Honestly, 10/10 banging, 100% recommend. Unreal food. This now brings me nicely onto the next thing that I found quite surprising about Kuala Lumpur, and that is the malls. They are massive, modern, and seem to be everywhere. They're connected underground, overground, from walking bridges that you cross roads, or you seem to go through a tunnel and you just end up in another one and another one and another one. It seems to stretch most of the city centre. And the reason why I mention this too is because the food hall in this place probably isn't your traditional go-to restaurant if you are traveling, but we decided to get some food in there because it was raining, and had one of the best meals I've had in a long time. Lamb shank with some sauce on, some fried chicken, some rice. Somebody will probably tell me the name of the lamb dish, but it was unreal. The sauce, the lamb, again, 10 out of 10. Every single meal we ate in Malaysia was unreal, and this was no exception, even in a shopping mall. So I guess another reason why Kuala Lumpur has surprised me is because it feels more like Singapore than it does like Bangkok, and it feels more like Singapore than it does Ho Chi Minh or Hanoi. And again, I've only been here for a couple of days. I haven't seen the whole city. I'm not an expert. But from what I have seen, and I've tried to do as much as I can, I've been to the city centre, seen the Petronas Towers, I've been around Bukit Bintang, I've taken a taxi just to tour the city a little bit, and eaten some food in different places, gone around some malls just to get a good feeling of the place. It is just much nicer and much better than what I thought it would be. And as I said, the people are a lot friendlier. You have people from all walks of life. It feels more like a European city, in my opinion, than it does a Southeast Asian city. Apart from it being a little bit more expensive, as a guy walking through, as a couple walking through, it feels quite safe. Somebody might tell me different if I go to certain areas, but from what I've experienced, everyone's been super friendly. One thing that I would be mindful of is the traffic. The traffic at times can be bad. Sometimes you're looking at sitting in a taxi for 30 minutes to go 5 or 10 minutes. That's pretty much every taxi experience that we've had. Just a little side note too, if you are on this Changkat Bukit Bintang street, if you're getting a taxi out of there at night, don't bother, find another means because the traffic gets bad. Another thing you'll notice all around the city is these little proton cars. Don't see them very often anywhere, but seem to have seen more in Kuala Lumpur in a few days than I've seen ever in my life before. And look, the city isn't all glitz and glam, perfect and modern and clean and organised, but for the most part, the reason I keep comparing it to places like Singapore or Europe is because of how much more organised and how much cleaner and more modern things feel, especially in the centre, than what they do in other parts of this area of the world. From the parts I've seen, from the people I've met, from the sights you can see everywhere, from the things to do in the city, I'd recommend it. I'd come back, and 48 hours in Kuala Lumpur has exceeded my expectations and has been a success. Guys, as always, I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on the place, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.